Marco Rubio, Secretary of State of the United States, and Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov meet. Marco Rubio said after that meeting that there are some new proposals from Russia, but basically he said Congress and Trump are preparing sanctions against the Kremlin. To what extent do you think the reversal of the United States is realistic now? The rhetoric has changed. Will there be action? I analyzed the whole process in detail in part 1. We talk to you regularly about U.S.-Russian relations, about the Russian-Ukrainian war. So let's, over the last week, what we've heard will also analyze, take from the way the West has behaved since 2014, and first of all, Joe Biden and Barack Obama, because Donald Trump and his administration massively, strategically, are not very different in their policy towards the Russia-Ukraine war.
не очень-то сильно отличаются в своей политике по отношению к российско-украинской войне.
There is no difference from 2014. What do I mean?
Что я имею в виду?
The thing is, Biden is just like the rest of the West. I listed to you a while ago this policy of exhortation, reset, Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2. All the things they do, they wanted to negotiate. They wanted to negotiate with Hitler, and now with him. And he understood that. I mean, Vladimir Putin. And when he understood that the enemy wants to negotiate with me, then he is weak. So I'm going to go after him. And he went to Georgia, he went to Ukraine, Crimea, Donbass. And then he's been at you for the last 3+ years. Because he sees that they want to negotiate with him behind Ukraine's back. You've changed that agenda, but despite this, he is going ahead to the end, counting on the West not fitting in. And we saw how the West behaved. And Biden administration wanted to negotiate. Before this full-scale aggression, I remind you, Biden, when he was president after 2020, this war hadn't happened yet. Biden met with him in Geneva. Why did he meet with him in Geneva? He wanted to negotiate with him. And when this full-scale aggression began, who flew to Moscow? The Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Italy, Draghi was then, Angela Merkel was the Chancellor. And the President of France, why did they fly there? They wanted to negotiate again to stop him. Where are you going? We built such a great business over these 20+ years. It's good for you, and it's good for us. You're getting everything. The same approach was taken to the subject of Karabakh. I mean, let the three of us agree here, the West, Europe, and you, Russia. We already gave you, Yeltsin, this post-Soviet space. What are you doing there? Let's create this screen. New Minsk. You got Minsk agreements, didn't you? And this is how you put pressure on Kyiv politically in economic terms, in informational terms. You control a tremendous amount of situation. And you provoked it all, and you made us bad, and you made yourself bad. He told them, swatting them away like pesky flies. You don't know the region well, there will be a blitzkrieg. If we raise an eyebrow, Kiev will fall in 3 days. The West believed it. But they wanted a deal, and it wasn't Trump, it was Joe Biden. The then president of the U.S., and the entire Western elite as well. And it is only because of the heroism of your people, your soldiers, and your military and political leadership that openly. We're talking about the Oval Office scandal. But remember the historic phrase, I don't need an airplane, give me a gun. That's what President Zelensky told President Joe Biden. I mean, he could have gotten off, and he did what Salvador Allende did. He took a machine gun and defended his country. Salvador Allende was dead at the time. So, if you are the president of a country, you should be together with the people and protect them. You win with the people, you're a hero, or die a hero. Running away is cowardice. Look at the fate of Yanukovych. Betrayed his country, betrayed his homeland, and where is he now? And sort of Russia had him on legal grounds at the time. Anyway, it's like they sneaked him in there as president. President Zelensky did not want to repeat this fate. That united the Ukrainian people. The blitzkrieg failed. You became strong, and after that, they came into motion. Now Biden is gone. We've already talked a lot, criticized how it was. Let's give Ukraine, let's not let them lose, and let's not let Russia win. Let the war continue. Donald Trump is coming. And from the beginning, what does he do? He's trying to make a deal. And he's the same, sending Witkoff how many times they've met, because he was sure he could push through. He was sure he could push through. Either he did not know the situation well, or his advisors reported the situation to him in such a way. He used to say, if Angela Merkel managed to push through the Minsk agreements with the French, I will do the same. And he told President Zelensky how many times, you don't have any cards, and so on. And he said, it's not my war, it's Joe Biden's war. And he's had that tactic from day one. And he was sure he would succeed. You're a living witness. I always told you he would fail on this subject. Because peace through force, the situation when two countries are at war, it is a battle of ideologies between those who are against the Soviet Union for European integration, Ukraine, and those who are restoring the Soviet Union 2.0, for whom Stalin's personality cult was a crime. They held a Congress of Communist Party and condemned the 20th Congress for Stalin's cult of personality. And there are monuments to him everywhere. A revival is underway. It's a struggle, a deadly fight, an ideological battle. I'm not talking purely in military technical terms anymore. Look at how it's going. And it's the largest geography, country, territory in the center of Europe. And naturally, the fate of the planet today depends on this war, because it is on the territory of Eurasia. He who commands Eurasia commands the planet. And that's why Donald Trump can't brush aside in any way this topic. He was sure that this tactic would help him, and in this tactic he was betting on Moscow, attacking you in the information field. Even attempted, this is what the intelligence has suspended a few times, this scandal in the Oval Office. You see, diplomatically, informationally, politically, he failed. President Zelensky's position was further strengthened after the scandal in the Oval Office. In the West, in Europe, it is exactly the same. And diplomatically, he managed to adapt with Western leaders to the type of the new President of the United States of America. I'm playing by the rules that Donald Trump has said. I told you sooner or later Putin's interests and Trump's interests are going to collide. Because there's no way to make a deal here. You can play along once, twice, send in Witkoff, make it look like it's going to happen. There is no agreement here at all. Putin cannot stop this war because if he stops this war, it is the beginning of a political crisis. Because those 700,000 who have gone through this war in one way or another, they will go back there, the soldiers there get 200,000 each, and those with higher ranks get even more. And where will they go? To a country with 4,000, 5,000 salaries, especially many from these hungry regions and with disturbed psyche. What happened to the Soviet Union when Afghan adventure ended in 1989 and the Soviet Union collapsed 2 years later? Remember what paramilitary units the Afghans were, business from the Afghans, cemetery from the Afghans, market from the Afghans, car sales and shuttle business, all from the Afghans. Liquor themes, Afghans, because it's all killers, they killed there, millions of Afghans put down. These hundreds of thousands were put down in Ukraine. Bucha, Irpin, Gostomel, they don't care. These murderers were let out of prison, they killed there, now they are back in Russia. He's already got ministers shooting themselves. Either he shot himself or he was shot, made up this suicide. In any case, Prigozhin, this subject. We realize that if this war stops, the freezing of the conflict, this is the beginning of a political crisis. The question will have to be answered, what were we fighting for? In 2014, we seized 20% of Ukraine. 3.5 years ago, we started this war. We have already put more than 1 million people there. And nothing else but Crimea and Donbass. On paper, we added some regions that we don't control. And for that, we put 3.5 years in this situation. And look what we've accomplished. We are telling NATO to get off our border. 2 more countries have been added to NATO. What we've done in the post-Soviet space is shift public opinion, even among Russian speakers loyal to Moscow, including in eastern Ukraine. They hate, they are afraid. And the entire post-Soviet space, which is watching the Russian-Ukrainian war, they are thinking, if Russia wins, they will do the same to us. That's the Christian face. And they say how well we treat Kazakhs, Uzbeks, Kyrgyz, Turkmens, Azerbaijanis, Georgians, Armenians. We see how you treat your brothers, the slaves, how you treat them. What are you doing with the sanctuaries of Kievan Rus Orthodoxy? I'm not saying that we don't know the full extent of it yet. And we realize that if they win there, then it could go to the entire post-Soviet space. And that's why I told you that Azerbaijan and Armenia, why they go to these negotiations like this, they realize that today in this world they have to orient themselves correctly. And here we need to understand what modern Russia is all about, and what awaits modern Russia and their neighbors depending on these processes. And it was our understanding, but we understood it a long time ago because we came out from behind the same overcoat. But in America, that realization is quietly coming. Not Marco Rubio should be listened to, because nothing that serious was said there. Neither Rubio nor Lavrov said anything. I've listened to both. It's streamlined stuff like that. Only listen to Donald Trump if he specifically says something. He also tries not to talk about it. I'm listening to the Senate and Congress right now, and I'm paying attention. There's an online. Listen to Kennedy's speech in the Senate today. He has the last name Kennedy, only he's not from the Kennedy family. It's just a namesake. He's a Republican. He's a former Democrat. He was until 2007, I think, a Democrat. He went Republican. Look what he said. And he's a Republican and he's a senator, and he spoke on behalf of these 87 people who signed. And the fact that Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal participated in this conference wanting to help Ukraine is also for a reason. And so this speech, Donald Trump's outrage, it goes in the context of this verbal rhetoric that was one thing before and now it's another. And now, if the rhetoric is changing, then the rhetoric must already be followed by some action. And we're all in anticipation of that action. Because the world is through strength, here you have to show strength. Because the peace is over. So you can once again simulate some kind of Istanbul talks. Nothing more than a prisoner exchange is going to happen there. Impossible. You have to show strength here. If you don't want to show strength to Russia because you won't go to a clash. Give Ukraine every opportunity for Ukraine to show all. Ukraine wants what it needs, not others fighting for it. I think it's the NATO summit. I think the G7 is in the same category, and the NATO summit as an extension. And the positivity that we hear more and more in the information field suggests that there is a certain strategy already in place that will compel, not because Donald Trump wants to, he just realizes he can't play it any other way here, because it hurts his image. Look at all the things this senator has said. It creates an impression, and that's what Donald Trump himself said in his heart. He said, they're treating me like a fool. I said, I believed it, I sent it. So what's next? And now it turns out they have some new demands. What are the requirements? We don't know what they are. I haven't even read the document. I can open it. The same thing Medinsky said in those Istanbul talks. Why do they say that? They are sure that if they want to negotiate with us, it means that they have no leverage, no power influence on us. And if you really look at this law, Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal, real look, in 3 months I'd watch them sing. Because it clearly says 500% is at the discretion of the president. So they want the U.S. president to make the decision. Congress is ready. They give him that authority. It has to. If it makes a decision, then he stops it. Run it for 3 months, and then see what happens after 3 months. If China, if India, and anyone else will buy Russian oil. And that's one major source. So you will then stop doing business with the United States. Who? China, India, or anyone else on the planet? I mean, they're in a relationship where they want to negotiate. And if it gets launched, even if only for a few months, then it will actually be a real force. That's even stronger than the 10 Patriots Ukraine needs, and which I have no doubt will be delivered to Ukraine in the near future. They just won't talk about it publicly. At any rate, I understand the processes are now going in that direction.